That was such a great lesson, Paul.
Thanks.
Can't say enough good about it. I mean, it just really seemed to flow. I noticed a big difference in the side conversations and chit chat. Had you talked to him and
Yep. Yeah, we had a conversation as a class about it.
Good. So I'll cover what I think, and then you be sure. And maybe you want to go first. I don't know. I always feel like I always do all the talking, and I apologize.
That's okay.
So I thought it was great that you had them identify what it is and what it isn't, and reminding as they were activating that prior knowledge, because our kids have a lot of other things going on when they do therapy and all that social emotional dysregulation that they have, and they can't remember really well. So I loved how you just kept talking to them and how, just saying things that when it seemed like it just helped all of them finally have a synapse fire and go, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they had to come up with the likenesses, and maybe you did this, but, and maybe it was more, I don't know, maybe you did this and I didn't notice, but if you're comfortable with that kind of long wait time to force that connection almost, because they'll get there, but oftentimes it's a longer wait time.
Yeah.
It got better as it went along, it seemed like, and then they were with you and then they were responding faster and everything. But just that initial part, you might have to sometimes in my class, we wait like an uncomfortable 1 minute, and then, but once they get going, and that's what really closes and makes those neural pathways strong. So just that an extra wait time might be uncomfortable, but helpful.
Okay.
And like I said, I did notice a lot less talking over each other and staying on task. I loved how they had the tangible examples. Sounds like sometimes they get to touch those and play with them, which is good, which solidifies that knowledge, which you noticed too. I like how you had the TV notes up there as you talked, and I just thought of, and maybe all the information they needed was in their worksheets. I don't know, because I couldn't see the worksheet, but
Right.
I just thought as you were talking, maybe pause as they write anything down that they need to, unless the notes are already in the worksheet and they don't need to. And then keep that discussion going, because as they're writing, they're not paying attention to that good discussion that's going on.
Right. So those notes, it was kind of a guided notes. So they had some of the information, but they had to fill in some spots. So it's kind of a half and half. Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, no, I think that's good, because it seemed like you had a couple of students in there, because you've got a couple higher ones, and one was pretty knowledgeable, or thought she was anyway, about the subject and wanted to say a lot. And I thought that's good for those lower ones too, to hear that discussion and perspective, because they might make a connection by what's being said, but if they're writing notes down, they miss that.
All right. Okay.
But no, I thought it was good, and it sounds like you have that covered and kind of know that already. So the other part was, did they write their observations down? As you were having them observe what it looks like and what it is. Were they writing those down too?
Not necessarily. I didn't ask them to, so that's another good suggestion.
I just wondered if that would help, and because you had so many good things going on and they were making connections. I just don't know that they were writing those down and offloading it from their working memory, so that then they could keep making connections and remember that. What they learned in all those things, because there was so much good stuff going on. I love that idea for checking for understanding, to hold up a 1 or a 2 like you did. And I would just encourage them to eyes on me, or, look at me, only look at me, decide your answer, so that you're not swayed by your peers.
Right.
So that then for yourself, oh, and then if I wasn't right, how do I clean that up? Okay. And I really like how you cleared up the misconceptions, as they went along, from the one student who thought she knew a lot, you know, and would say something, and if it was
Yeah.
not accurate, and it didn't derail the lesson, and it just went right on. It was perfect. I liked how you had them look for specific things so that they didn't distract themselves, you know, as they were looking at the examples and the tangibles, so that they didn't get distracted from the goal that they were supposed to be looking at and making
Right.
those observations about. I like how you did that when you had them think way back to when you were in this whatever class, and do you remember when you talked about this? And I thought that was really good, and letting them kind of lead, like those higher students kind of lead with that, with the object. I really like that. How they could lead and teach with that.
Yeah.
It looks like Sid, one of the things that I just learned about her that I thought might be helpful for you to know too, is she's going to be getting some occupational therapy type help. And so she's going to be a kid that really needs to kind of get up, stand up to help her stay focused.
Okay.
She's doing a really good job of that herself by getting a fidget. I could see her digging in her backpack, but then she raised her hand to answer the question. She just kind of needs that movement a little bit. So maybe you pull her aside. She's pretty good to advocate if she needs that, but not always. So that might be something that could help her in your class.
Yeah, I think she asked me the other day if she could go get a fidget from Britt. So
yeah, and she's starting to get the hang of that, but she just very much needs that to quiet her brain so that she can engage.
okay.
So yeah, like the example of when she was digging in her backpack and she found, you know, was finding whatever she needed. It totally looked like she wasn't even paying attention. And then she comes up with her hand. She has an answer, you know,
Right.
so she just needs that. Maybe I love how they were, I don't know what happened to my note right there. It just says great. Something was great. And then maybe I was going to say, oh, I love how you had them go up to the board and draw something because it gets them up out of their seat, you know. And then I wonder if as you're going through each of those crystals, maybe have them spell the word for you on the board just to help increase that vocabulary, because
Okay.
all that science vocab is always so, you know, hard, and not knowing how to spell it, not knowing how to say it, read it, you know.
Okay.
I just thought that was just one thing that for whatever it's worth.
Okay.
But I really loved how they got to draw something and then add to it for information. Everybody seemed super engaged and right with you. I think that classroom management helped that too. And I like how you reviewed with them at the end too, and maybe just have them, as you're reviewing, double check their notes and add anything. Oh, that's a good point. Add that to your notes, you know, just as you do that, or they could collaborate to do that. But the hands-on with the making the things, that was like the icing on the cake. It was perfect.
Yeah.
They participated. Making the models was, you know, very good to have them know exactly what it is and what it isn't. And just really like how you differentiated the instruction and called on those that you knew and could lead and do something. That was great. And even called on those when you knew they could be successful participating.
Yeah.
Like Sid, you know, and having her go up, and she said, oh, I'm not a good drawer, you know, but just having her do that and setting her up for success. That was great differentiating instruction.
Thanks.
So very good. So what did I miss that you think went well?
No, I think you covered a lot of the same things I noticed that went well. It's the classroom management's getting a little bit better. They're staying on task a little bit better. I'm still working on trying to find more student-centered activities, but obviously this lesson had more than in the past, so there's improvement there.
Good. I'm just writing those down because I think part of that I have to know. So this will be good.
Another thing, I just, after talking to you, another good suggestion, kind of from what you've said, is I think I just need to slow down in general. I think a lot of times I kind of, like, I love science, so I just love talking about it. I think teachers love talking about their subject, so I just want to talk the whole time. So
Right.
yeah, if I slow
And give
down,
them all you can, right?
yeah,
That's what I want. I'm just like, oh, you got to know this too. Oh, and this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I could slow down a little bit. Like you said, give them more time to make the connections and also give them more time to write things down so that when I start talking again, they're not writing, because you're right, they're not going to be able to understand what I'm saying and write at the same time.
Yeah. And that stuff is good stuff, right? Too. That's the part that I've had to retrain myself, even of the slowing down. Okay, wait, they're still writing.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on to that thought, you know?
Yeah.